Have you ever been in love? Like really in love, like you just wanted to die? If you haven't, just swipe on through. This one's for the lovers. This one's for the brokenhearted as well. This is part of life, isn't it? Where for some reason we're allowed to feel like we're giving our soul away. We fall in love so insanely, madly, deeply. We give everything. We share our insides and just pull them out, either for just a short period of time or a lifetime, decades. And this is a beautiful part of life if it works out. What isn't so pretty is when the other either doesn't know you exist or doesn't want you, or did want you but doesn't want you anymore, or you messed up bad and ruined it, or you've been missing someone a long time and there's a separation and then feelings change and they don't want you back anymore. Like there's unlimited variations of this kind of heartbreak. And let's not forget the ones where people leave us permanently, where they just exit planet Earth. And you're just left hanging there in grief. There's all these versions, and it's any wonder that this world is even populated, since it's so terrifying, letting those sorts of feelings blossom. And for sure, sometimes you just don't have a choice. In fact, they're probably the best kinds of love, where there is no choice. You just have to love. Wow. And we talk about romantic love today. And if you've been watching some of my other videos, this is a relatively new channel. I'm just a few videos in, just finding my feet. I am mature-aged, obviously, university student. I'm studying the classics at the moment and art history. And I've just started the classics like 2 months ago. And I thought I was kind of educated entering this course, but I wasn't. I knew nothing. Like, I've just been open to this whole world that for some reason, maybe I was asleep in class at school or something, or I just didn't care. And I don't know why I didn't read some of these books in my earlier adult life after all of this. But I'm just going to show you quickly, and I'll do a deep dive if you guys seem interested in any of these. But these ancient texts are about love. All the iterations and all the ways it can go wrong. And it's just, I just got to tell you, I've got to show you. We might leave that one to last. Might wait for that one. Okay, so this old chestnut, the Odyssey. This particular translation is freaking awesome, by Emily Wilson. It's relatively new. I think it's just been out a few years. I'd say it's quite the mission, translating from ancient Greek into modern text in language that we are happy to read. But I could recommend this book, but what I'd really recommend, if you're just not used to reading epic poems that are like enormous, is this particular edition has a really entertaining and really beautiful audiobook version, and I think Claire Danes narrates it. It's amazing because, firstly, it's a very messed up love story. And it makes you think a bit about marriage, commitment, infidelity, How much do you put up with the other? And there's also some amazing goddesses sort of sprinkled through this, and some amazing men, but not as many good men as there are women in this book, I think. And it's complicated. And it leaves a lot of questions too. I mean, there's so many lenses to look at this book, but I'm talking about this book through the lens of love, commitment, marriage. I mean, this is Odysseus, really long story, obviously, not going to go into it. And his wife Penelope is left at home for like 20 years with their son. She's expected to sort of keep her legs crossed and wait for him. Meanwhile, he is like living it up. And, you know, one minute he's like pretty sad and wants to go home, but it doesn't stop him like stopping island hopping and sleeping with goddesses and demis on the way, just to get what he needs. Anyway, I think that's a good place to start, just because that's where I started. It was one of the first readings we had to do before the semester started. And I loved it more than I thought, and I've been avoiding reading it because it just sounded boring. Like, how could a story that was written 2,500 years ago be relevant to me today? It really is, because it's about being human and it's about being in love. The next one, I would go to Sappho. I might do a whole video on Sappho at another time, from the Greek island of Lesbos, you may have heard of. And we have very little of her work because she's for sure, you know, been kind of extinguished by patriarchy and religion over the years. But they keep finding fragments of her work, like in Egypt, and she has been quoted by other ancient authors and poets. She was prolific, but we have like less than 5% of her work. But what we have found and salvaged and translated is stunningly beautiful, and most of it is about longing, unrequited love, and there's a lot of angst in there, and there's a lot of passion in there, and a lot of observations that, again, you feel seen. This woman wrote this like 2,600 years ago, and she's feeling it. She's got limerence happening, and it's just simple words sometimes that really shake you. And I've got to say that you can get lots of different translations, and I think personally, I think this Willis Barnstone translation I found to be the best, but it's personal taste. Like, you can just look that up online and you can find plenty of translations. So that's Sappho. Now, getting a bit more to the pointy end here of all the versions of love, Plato, the Symposium. This one is a pretty easy read. It's a really small book, thank God, right? After all that reading, I've got all my little crummy notes here. I can't read to you because they're so messy. I'm left-handed and it's hard to read my own writing. So the premise is, where do I start? Okay, so Plato, ancient Greek philosopher. His teacher was Socrates. Socrates he died. He was going to be executed, and I think he drank poison instead back in the day. And I think all his work was destroyed, or there's no known trace of his work. And some academics even question if he existed at all. But let's say he did. We want him to exist. And Plato has gone ahead and written one of the first sort of philosophical texts in prose, because normally it was like epic poems and that sort of thing for reciting and poetry, for performing. But this is written in prose, and the premise is that the character in here is recounting a dinner party or a symposium, because back in ancient Greece, when I think it would have been men, not women, because women didn't do anything except have babies, but the men would gather and they'd just get blind drunk and talk and share ideas. And it was called a symposium. Now our modern symposium is sort of a business discussion with much less alcohol, so it's sort of boring, but it's meant to be about drinking and talking and learning. Anyway, so in this book, I'm not even going to try and tell you the characters' names in here, and some of them are factual, like real people. I'm calling them characters even wrong. I'm not even going to, I'll embarrass myself if I even try and pronounce these right now, but trust me, it's easy to follow. So someone's telling someone else about this dinner party. And what happens is they decide not to drink because they've got a hangover from the night before because of other celebrations of the host winning the grand award for some of the Greek play festivities. And they go around the table and is it called a eulogy to love? Yes. So these men of different walks of life discuss what they think love is and what all the good things of love, the eulogy of love, how wonderful it is, and the rights and wrongs. So there's a cautionary tale and a moral tale. There's also the very famous tale about how men and women and androgynous, like the middle sex, were all like one being, and they were connected at the back and faced out, and then Zeus got jealous of their perfect love because they were together and cut them in half with a piece of string and separated them and twisted them around, made us into the form we are, so that we would always be left longing, always be left looking for the other half. For eternity, basically. We are meant to ultimately find the other half, and that's why we call it the other half, actually. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, and sometimes we find more than one other half, I think. So what this book brings is different perspectives, lots of questions. You have to get past the references to men having boy lovers. You've got to think of time and place and the language used. And they're in Athens, and apparently it was an absolute free-for-all in Athens for older men to have younger male lovers. Everywhere else at the time thought it was fairly inappropriate, but not in Athens. It was a total party town by the sounds of it. But that's beside the point. We're talking about human love. And we don't hear from a woman's point of view until near the end, when Socrates steps up and explains what he knows of love and what he was taught by a woman. Anyway, short book, really thought-provoking. Again, makes you feel kind of seen and makes you think about love and makes you think about your past relationships and if any of them fit into this category, like common love, heavenly love. Did someone just want you for your body? Did someone just want you for your money, your stuff, your position? Who really loves you, and who has loved you? And, what was your role in that? Really interesting. And then the other bonus, which I like, is that I only had to read like 80 pages, and now I can say, oh yeah, I've read Plato. Such an idiot. I've read Plato, see? Look at that. Now, I don't have the cover for this, and anyway, it's a poetry book by Rumi, and this one's the love poems of Rumi, but it's edited by Deepak Chopra. This one's, we won't mention that, but I don't want to take away from Rumi. But I've had this book a long time, a very long time, I think, since it was published, probably 20 years ago or more. But Rumi was a 13th century mystic, Sufi poet, Islamic. And the words in his poems are about love, are heartbreaking and lucid, and there's a richness in it. They're like paintings. Every poem is very moving and very modern in a way too. Anyway, what has this got to do with being brokenhearted? I just think when we're hurting or we're questioning, and we're thinking about love or the other and what are they thinking, it does soothe the soul a little bit to realize you're not the only one, and it's not just a now problem, it's a forever question, issue, problem. I don't call love a problem, like it's an experience. I'll leave it there.